Lecture 8, Part 3, we're going to talk about graphing circles, and we're going to be using the standard form, which you guys have seen before. We're also going to do the flip side of that, where you've got circles, and then you need to write the equation of them. And then we're going to do something really fun, and we'll save this for the last video there, but we will be converting equations into the standard form. So that last part there is something new that you guys have not seen yet. So we're going to go ahead and skip that bell ringer. Okay, definition of a circle. A circle is a set of points x and y at a fixed distance r from a fixed point hk. So we are going to talk about the distance formula, and I think it technically is supposed to be before this, but I like the order of this better. So just a reminder, your distance formula is your distance equals your x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus your y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared, and all of that is underneath this big old square root. So if you guys are looking at this, we have a point, and that point is h and k. We have another point, and that other point we're going to call x and y because there are an infinite number of x and y points. And then we're going to look at the distance that is between that x and y point, and that is our radius r. Okay, so using all of that information there, we're going to go over how we turn this distance formula into our standard form of a circle. So we said we have point 1, which would be your x and y point. We have point 2, which is your center, h and k. Okay, and then the distance between those 2 points is r. So we're going to go ahead and plug that in then. R equals big old square root of x sub 1. So our x sub 1 is just going to be our x minus our x sub 2 is h. Close that off, square it, plus parentheses. Now we have our y sub 1, which is just y, minus our y sub 2, which would be our k, squared. And the only other thing that they do to this problem here is they don't really like that it's got that big old square root, which I don't blame them. So if you squared this side of the equation, that would get rid of that big old square root. And then we would just need to square this side over here with the radius. And when we do that, we end up with r squared equals x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. And that is the standard form for a circle. So we can see from this, remember the center of your circle is h and k. So these numbers here will represent the center of the circle. X and y is just an infinite number of points that go in for that. So we could just have that be an x and y. And then your radius would just simply be the square root of r squared to give me just my radius of r. So we have to take the square root of this number here to figure out what the radius of that circle would be. Okay, so just to kind of summarize, we'll go down to this next slide here. Okay, it says that the standard form for the equation of a circle is x minus h plus y minus, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So they want to know, based on this example down here, x minus 13 squared plus y plus 5 squared equals 25, what is the center and the radius for the circle? Common incorrect answer that I get for the center is I get that your center is at negative 13, 5. And that is incorrect because if you guys look, the standard form has x minus h and y minus k. So x minus the center of my circle is just that 13. My h in that case is just the 13. Plus y minus is the standard form. So how did I get that plus there with the 5? Well, that's because that was a negative 5, and we know that two negatives make a positive. Okay? So the center of this circle is actually positive 13, negative 5. So one thing that I've had students do in the past is they just say, hey, I remember it's just the opposite of whatever those numbers are. So if you see an x minus 13, it's a positive 13. If you see a y plus 5, it's a negative 5. Now, why is it? Well, this is the y. It's the opposite because it's just the h and the k. And it also kind of goes back to when we graph our equations as well. If you are having something inside the parentheses, remember when we were shifting around parabolas, we would always shift the opposite if it was on the inside. So it follows that same rule. Now, my radius, okay, common wrong answer I get for the radius is 25, okay? Well, if you look here, r squared and 25 are in the same spot. So that means that r squared equals 25. Well, how could I get it so it's just the r? If I took a square root of both of those, that gives me r equals 5. So my radius is just 5. Now they write it 25 because it is 5 squared. So the radius for this circle is just simply 5. Okay, so we have our center is 13, negative 5, and we have our radius is 5. Now, we can use that information to start graphing these circles. So if I scroll down here, okay, I've got y plus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 9. The first thing you need to do when you're going to graph this is you need to plot the center of the circle. So I've got x plus 1. Remember, that's x minus negative 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared. Okay, so the center of the circle is at negative 1, positive 3, because the center is just those numbers there. So I'm going to go to the left one and then up 3. There is the center of my circle. Now, what is the radius of the circle? Well, remember, equals r squared. So r squared and 9, well, if r squared equals 9, that means that your radius is 3. So I now need to plot 4 other points. So I need to plot 4 other points. I'm going to go down 3. I could also go up 3 for the radius. I can go to the right 3, and I can go to the left 3. Okay? Then we just simply need to connect all these points by drawing a circle. Now, not all of you guys are going to be able to draw a circle as well as I can. So one thing that we would want to do is you want to draw the radius out from the edge and label it so we know that that radius there is 3. Okay? So that's how we go about graphing our circles. Let's do another example here on the next page. Okay? Graph this following circle. Why don't you guys go ahead and pause the video and try and do this one on your own. Okay, hopefully you have that video paused. You tried it on your own. Okay, what is the center of this circle? Well, this is x minus a negative 3 squared plus y minus a 2 squared equals 16 is r squared, so that would be a 4 squared. So the center of my circle is at negative 3, positive 2. So negative 3, positive 2. And the radius of this circle is 4. So right 4, I can go. Down 4, I can go. To the left 4, and I can go up 4. Okay. Draw my circle. Again, not everybody's as talented as I am. Label your circle as a radius of 4. Perfect. Now, these next two here are a little bit more difficult, so I'm going to do these with you guys. First one here, you've got x squared plus y squared equals 9. Okay. A lot of people will look at this and tell me that the center of my circle is at 1 and 1. Now, that is incorrect because if the center of my circle was at 1, I would have x minus 1 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals my 9. Okay, and if I had x minus 1, I would have to leave it as x minus 1 because that is, you can't simplify that. So I don't have a 1 in those spots there. What number would I have? X minus what equals x? Well, that would be x minus 0. Okay, so this is simply a 0. If you see an x by itself, the x coordinate is 0. If you see a y by itself, the x coordinate is 0. Okay, now 9, okay, well, that is just simply 3 squared. So that means that our radius is 3. I'm going to go up 3, right 3, down 3, left 3. Connect all my points together and label it as 3. Okay, next one over here, x minus 2, y plus 2. So I'm going to go to the right 2 and down 2. That's not the tricky one on this one. The tricky one is that our radius squared equals 2. So when I try to simplify this, I find that my radius is simply the square root of 2, which is about 1.4 something. So this is where that labeling really comes into play because our radius is approximately 1.4 something. I'm going to go up about 1.5, right about 1.5, down about 1.5, and left about 1.5. I'm going to draw my circle. And then I definitely need to label this one because we just use an approximation. So you can either draw it there. I might just draw an arrow and put that my radius is square root of 2 just because there's not a whole lot of space there. Okay, but that is how we go about graphing our circles.